What's up, guys, and welcome to another Inked Edit. One second. Yeah, that's better. Alright, let's do this. Growing up, Pokemon was and still is one of my all-time favorite things, both the games and the show, and while the games are still great, they're a subject for another time. One question that's constantly gnawing at pretty much anyone who liked the show at one point or another is this: is Ash Ketchum done? To add a little more context, Pokemon has had more influence over me than any superhero ever has. While many of my personal moral and ethical leanings come from heroes like Captain America or Superman or Spider-Man and other such heroes, Pokemon is actually the series that started me down the path of being a creator. It was the first thing I ever got truly invested in drawing. The first thing I ever wrote and completed was Pokemon-based. The first video game I ever played was Pokemon Gold. And I'm pretty sure I, like every other fan, got a little misty-eyed when Ash died in the first movie. What I'm trying to establish here is that this is a series that means a lot to me, and to be fair, at some point I'll probably do a proper tribute to the series as a whole. But for now, this will have to do. And with that out of the way, I'll quit dodging the question at hand. But keeping with my nature of being one of the most compromising people ever, I have to say that the answer is kind of. I won't get into what I think the problems are with the series as a whole. If you'd like that, then I can turn this into a sub-series like I am with the Superman editorials. We're here to talk about Ash. And as a character, Ash is kind of done. But at the same time, he really isn't. The thing that originally made Ash so appealing was that he was a pretty believable kid. He was high on energy, low on logic, and big on heart. He was rash, he was naive, he had a terrible one-track mind, and he was short-tempered, and yeah, he was almost relentlessly immature. But therein lies the arc. He was young, he was growing, he was learning. And I think that this is an important element to the character. He was so entrancing to us as kids because he was growing, much like we were. Now, I'm not of the mind that he has to physically age in order to maintain his charm. That idea is just plain ludicrous. But I do think that character development was a huge part of his character. I maintain that my absolute favorite span of time for the series was from Kanto League to the end of the Johto League. And that is because during that time is when Ash showed the absolute most significant growth as a character. The absolute best example of how that growth is shown is in the relationship to Charizard. Now, I won't spoil it for those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, but their relationship is my single most favorite arc of character development ever. And only one of those characters has any form of actual dialogue. That's how powerful it is. I'll probably bring it up in a future episode, the difference in Ash's relationship with Pokemon in the quote-unquote golden era versus the quote-unquote new age. Anyway, back to the topic at hand. Actually, speaking of the new age,
a kid from Town with a brand new world to see. Don't know what's ahead, but it won't get the best of me.
Hoenn is easily where the entire fandom of Pokemon just gets split right down the middle. Now, most of it does just come from Misty leaving. That is where the majority of animosity towards Hoenn comes from. But that's not why I have a problem with Hoenn. Yes, Misty is my favorite of all of Ash's female companions, but the reason I have a problem with Hoenn is that it kinda should have been the turning point of the series. Hoenn is clearly the one region in the series that showcased all of the gym leaders having the most ruthlessly powerful Pokemon, and Ash shined in this region from a battle perspective. He was at his absolute most competent in the Hoenn region. So why is this a problem for me? Because Ash should have won the Pokemon League this time. When you look back over the last 2 regions, however, all the signs were there. In each region, Ash has one consistent rival throughout. And when it comes down to the battle with them in the actual Pokemon League, he always manages to defeat this rival. But midway to late way through the region, he's always introduced to a second, less important rival. They mislead you with this one, thinking that it's just going to be another character that Ash will have to battle. And then he loses to them. It happened with Richie, it happened with Harrison, it happened with Tyson. It even happened in the Unova League, although Sinnoh League kind of did deviate from it. This should have been a defining point for Ash as a character. Ash wins the Pokemon League and is forced to then ask the question of, now what? That would have taken the series in a bit of a different direction, one that offered more freedom for the show to go where it pleases and introduce some new story elements, as well as expand the world. After all, Ash's goal is to become the Pokemon Master. At no point is it ever implied that the way to do that is to beat one Pokemon League tournament. It could have been a really interesting turn for the character and yielded some truly impressive storytelling. And I'm not saying they have to completely omit the gym battles and the tournaments and all that jazz. I'm just saying that they can break away from that being the only thing that Ash pursues. It'd be further growth and depth for him as a character, who finally completes this one piece of his journey, and where does he go from there? And really, this isn't a Gilligan's Island scenario in which Ash winning a tournament would be the end of things. If he wins one tournament, then so what? He hasn't accomplished his goal. It's for this reason that Ash has become a stagnant character, and they continually set him back years whenever he heads to a new region. It's like they retcon him at the beginning of each new adventure, so past battles never happen. The latest series, X and Y, is a hugely marked improvement over where the show has been for the past few years in terms of Ash being a character again, but it does still have the mark of this problem. For example, Ash loses his first gym battle of the region, and how does he lose? To a tactic he's encountered no less than 3 times. His opponent uses an ice attack to freeze the battlefield, thus making mobility difficult for his Pokemon. And the thing that makes matters worse, the Pokemon he lost to was a Surskit. It was a tiny water bug Pokemon. You want to know the last time Ash encountered this tactic that sticks out in my mind? Regice. And he won that one! Ash took on a legendary Pokemon using this tactic and won! And not only was it a legendary Pokemon, but it was a legendary Pokemon held by the last Frontier Brain in the Battle Frontier, the most skilled trainer in that entire establishment. So for him to lose to this tactic when it's being used by a freaking Surskit in the first gym of a region, I'm sorry, but that's just terrible writing. And it really is no more complicated than that, it's just bad writing. Ash as a character is not to blame. He used to be a really good character, and I believe that he can be again, but whoever is in charge needs to stop playing it like a paint-by-numbers book and just let the series go where it will. Do I think they need to get rid of Ash? No. I am a strong proponent of the idea that if a character loses interest, then just deciding to throw them away is a wasteful and lazy practice. I think that a good writer takes the character and gives us a reason to be interested again. And not with shock value, but with actual solid writing. A shining example of this is the character of Moon Knight. Moon Knight is constantly battling with the prospect of obscurity. He's always teetering on the edge of fading out into the void, and it's been that way since the late 90s. Every run since then has ranged from abysmal to subpar at best. That is until the most recent run of Moon Knight, which I've heard is amazing, and I do intend to begin reading it soon. Alright, where was I? Sorry. My point is that I think that what Ash needs is not to be aged up or kicked out. I just think they need to bring things back to the roots of the character. A young kid with a simple goal who's on a great journey with great friends, learning a lot along the way and having some truly memorable adventures. As always, thanks for watching Geeks and Geekettes, and I'll see you on the next Inked Editorial.